So I will get it kicked off here. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the second Lion's Den call of the year. This month, we turn externally into avenues to help create deeper and more meaningful relationships with our prospects and clients. To accomplish this, it is my honor and privilege to introduce you to our guest speaker, Ryan Lipsey. Ryan has dedicated the last 21 years to title sales. He runs the #1 sales executive title team in the nation across all brands. And last year, Ryan and his team closed over 8.4 million in title sales only. So impressive. Ryan comes from Tycor Title out of San Diego. He has created a brand and team over his tenure that has propelled him to consistent success and the top spot across all sales professionals. Get your pens and papers ready because Ryan has gold to share with us today. And we will make sure that we leave time at the end for everyone to ask questions, but let's get started. So I will turn it over to you, Ryan.
Oh man, what a great intro. Thank you. When to hear numbers spoken out loud like that, it's kind of insane, but we're stoked to be doing big things. Very honored to be here speaking with you guys and to be here with you today. We just are grateful, man. It's a crazy market, lots going on. And I have to first acknowledge Haley, Katie, and Shelby. They may be here. I know Haley's here with us, but those numbers that you quoted, and I think it was another 1.2 million or so in escrow fees. We don't focus as heavily on the escrow, but massive, biggest in my career, largely because of COVID's secret little prize for us in the housing market, but also because of a team, and I attribute that to, thankfully, and it didn't happen right away. I had 2-3 iterations of a team that were utter failures and are still dumpster fires smoldering somewhere. But you get better at things, right? And so our team is responsible. Haley's my salesperson out in the field with me, the rainmaker of the team right alongside me. And then we have alongside of us, Shelby and Katie, who manage our data and our customer needs on Shelby's side. And then Katie is the eye in the sky, the mothership, if you will, who answers emails. And you can't schedule an appointment with me anymore because I screw it up and I'm double booked and I'm a yes guy. So you have to go through Katie, as you well know. But yeah, again, excited to be here. And I was thinking as we were with Ashley, chatting a little bit about this, how to go back, and talk about Ryan from 15, 10, 12, 8 years ago and different versions, because I have a lot of different versions as we all do and have been through different thresholds of adversity, which have yielded teams and different approaches to the business. But the first decade I spent in title, I worked in South Bay, San Diego. Oh Lord, should have put on Do Not Disturb. Sorry. Okay, am I back? I was part of with my brother was my partner, and we were running around just running and gunning. This was the days of 2001 through 6 before the mortgage meltdown, tons of refis, and we were just all about Brian Tracy, Tommy Hopkins, if anybody's as old as I am, and all those guys, just about picking up the phone and getting voice to voice and getting face to face. And there used to be offices that you would route. Like we had like metrics, like hit 25 offices in a day. And we had what we called the paper route. Like we were crazy enough to try, because a lot of them were mom and pop. So we would roll up our little title flyer and put it in the doorway like early in the morning. So when they got our flyer was already on their door, stuff like that. So a lot of that's antiquated. I feel like social media is largely now the new routing or the new top of mind awareness, flyering and mailbox papering type approach. But there was always a drive, always what was next, forward thinking. I was doing email blasting back in 2001. A lot of it was more just, I was an English major. I fancied myself a storyteller. So I would do little narratives that we would email out, but we tried it all, and then in 2011, after getting through the meltdown and I was voluntold to go to a completely new territory. So I had to leave my book of business, leave my partners, which was my brother and 2 other close people, because they needed to spread out the sales reps. And I went to Carmel Valley, Del Mar, Encinitas, North County, Coastal, La Jolla, California, right? And I'm like, whoa. So, but I was starting from scratch, right?
And just to put in perspective, since you guys don't know where those areas are, one area that Ryan was working was very close to Mexico in the border, and it's a very different area than North County coastal. Completely different clients, completely different kind of people, different markets, just completely different price ranges. So that's where Ryan got taken out of and then put into a completely different kind of market.
Yeah, it was really, it was, thank you, Haley, for that perspective. Yeah, completely different people, different mindset, different avatar for the prospects and the customers that we were servicing. So, and by the way, I had to leave my whole book. So I was starting from scratch. So anything that had a mortgage sign on the window or financial or real estate or commercial, anything, I walked into everywhere. And I got at that point that I got into coaching with the core training. And the core is East Coast based. It's with Rick Ruby, and they're very metric heavy, like this many calls, this many leverage events, this many face-to-face with the greatness tracker. And Haley probably has her greatness tracker in front of her. And and we still I was making calls up to this call. So forgive me for being, I was right on time. So never mind. So the point of that is it was two different there's a divide in my career. I was a part of a team, whereas now I lead a team. And what happened was in 2011, I went out there, I got us from 7th in market share to like 2nd behind First American, and things were going great. And the reason I liked the core is because I heard in a podcast, get more leads than you can get to, right? And I'm like, oh my God, that would be fabulous if I had more incoming opportunities than I could ever get to. And so I signed up, did the work, and lo and behold, I had more appointments, more customers wanting to work with me, more than I could ever get to. So I said, I need help, right? So that's when I crossed into the threshold of getting an assistant, which was on me. I was at lawyer's title at the time, and they didn't want to share the cost of an assistant with me. So I said, you know what, I still need it. So I did what I had to do. I got a great assistant at a great price, who it lasted about a year. And then because I wasn't much of a leader at that time, right? I had to develop myself to a certain level so that I could get people around me that were operating at a similar frequency. But all that said, that was the beginning of me forming a team, which has led to, like I said, failed attempts, mismatches. I hired improperly. I managed improperly. I was not a leader. I'd like to think that I've definitely come a long way with my personal growth, and the man that I am and have become in the process has allowed me to become and lead better people. And the universe that I can create for my people is big enough to contain their goals and aspirations, and really make sense for them to remain a part of the ecosystem, right? So okay, great. You got a team, you move all these orders, you make all this revenue come in the door. How do we do that? Well, for me, it starts with mindset, because the number one tool isn't like Tycor One Agent or Chicago Title NetSheet app or some farm program somewhere. There's people that are way better than all of us at that stuff, and educating the agent population on that stuff. It starts with you. It starts with me. It starts with us, right? And through adversity, through things like the mortgage meltdown and short sale season, and even right now, what we just came through in COVID and all of the dubious kind of uncertainty that we were faced with in March of 2020. I mean, all those things are going to try you and test you. So what's your mindset? I am putting together right now with Pete Filler, the regional around here, a coaching platform just to make available to FNF reps. It's going to be called Mindset Mission Media. So the mindset part of it is, what do you do to bring your best version of yourself to the game today, right? And you can get into like the miracle morning, you can get into move your body, move your spirit, move your mind, all of that. And that's precisely what we subscribe to on my team. We get out there the mornings, because what did we get back with COVID, right? We were quarantined. We got our mornings back. Like we got to work out in the morning. I got to have coffee with my wife. I got to see my kids, like where other times I was gone from 8 to 8 most days, right? So I developed a routine and a recipe that got me in a really good spot. Like I worked out, I did my Peloton, I did some meditating, I read, and, and those types of things. And really, and then we got on our team huddle at 10 a.m. When we went to COVID, we used to meet Mondays and Fridays in person and huddle as a team. We went to everyday Zooms at 10 because if you think way back to March 2020, it was scary, right? It's like, how do I say it? Pandemic, what is it? What are we dealing with? And then we had to pivot rather quickly. So our agility came from the fact that we were in constant contact and we saw the adversity and were able to bring our whole selves to work and voice fear and voice the doubt and then thereby process in the huddle all the things that came, right? And so we worked through that. But just to touch briefly on, you are your mindset, because it's the lens that you see the world through, right? So some people are going to go on Twitter and see 400 posts about hate and about negativity, and that take a completely different person will look and find 400 posts on Twitter of positivity, of personal growth, of how things are great. And it all depends on the lens that you're looking through, right? I mean, so we try to get our best lens and our best version of ourselves today, right? You don't have to peak every day. That's not sustainable. Some days you're just gonna have a shitty day, right? But what's your best on that day? And do you still show up? And if you really are mindset conscious and aware, then even on your worst days, you can do the minimum to get through. You can hit your metrics. Haley and I, it's on us to make 20 calls to people we know and 20 that we don't every day. Sometimes it's 60. Like I know Haley was on pace to hit a 50 burger today. If you hit 50 calls in one day, it's called 50 burger. Okay. and I'm on pace for like 15, but I wanted to be good for you guys and get ready a little bit. So, where was I? So that's, what mindset are you bringing into the fight, right? Because sometimes it's mindset that gets you and allows you to stay in the fight, period. The next is mission. So what's our mission? Our mission is to work on behalf of our customers to make their experience and the obstacles that they're facing in their job. How do we get them through that, right? So agents, low inventory. I have 20 buyers and there's no houses I can put them into. And every offer is going 150 to 250,000 above asking. It's like, right? So if I stay in me and me and Haley and Shelby and Katie just sit around thinking about what we need and our paycheck and what hurts and how we're hungry and we're egocentric and we can never get into the customer. We have to get out of yourself and into the customer. Otherwise, you can't speak to their hope, their dream, their fear with them, right? Which comprises them. And whether they're talking to you about it or not, they're fearful. They all are. They don't know where their next deal is coming from. They used to do an open house 3 weeks in a row and get a couple escrows. And then go back to Vegas or whatever they do with all their commissions, right? But then now that's just not in the cards. So they're having to pivot right now and do some organic prospecting, to do some authentic, real posting and social media and monitoring that. So we're ushering them through that and helping provide ideas, concepts, strategies, tactics, and data to do that. It seems so simple, but it's like delegation. It's like, yeah, I just delegate. Somebody else does it. Well, there's a lot more to it than that. You have to take the ego out of it, because my first assistant should be happy to tell you that I couldn't give it away. I was like, I need you to do these things. And then every like 15 minutes, did you do item 3? And did you make sure to talk to the one guy? That's that, because I thought Ryan had to do it, right? So one of the first lessons you learn is you got to kill the ego. It's not about you. It's about getting that done, right? So the same thing here is you have to get out of you, which is counterintuitive to all of us. The human animal is flawed and self-centered. Hello. And so it's a little counterintuitive, but once you do, now you can spend time and just look on social media and it'll give you a good gauge of what the concerns of the real estate agent population are. Find those, do content on those, find remedies for that and voice that. So the next is media, right? So mindset, get up, read some Stoic, journal. Thank you, Haley. Got me the book. Do some journaling of your own. Listen to Gary Vee on a podcast. Jim Rome has a great podcast that I'm spending time with right now called The Reinvention Project. It's sick. You get inspired. I don't know about you, but I wake up and I'm not inspired. I'm kind of pissed. I'm tired. I'm grumpy. I'm sore. The Peloton thing ain't easy. Okay. And but lo and behold, I get into a podcast. I do a little quiet time. I do a little devotional reading time. and I'm starting to crawl out of it, throw some coffee on it. And then by the time I get to my team huddle, I'm ready to go to war. Like I'm ready, mindset ready. Number two, okay, great. I feel great. But if you take an idiot and you motivate him, all you got is a motivated idiot, right? So now what? What's the mission? The mission is to go out there and get side by side with our customer and find solutions for their problems out of self, right? And we can go on and on about that. But largely, it looks like nurturing my spirit, circle prospecting around my coming soon, telling the story of the highest comp that you just had, whether it was the buyer or the seller in that neighborhood, right? What's the more video? Like, hey, we know what you look like. We know what you sound like. Do more video. Because I don't know what the number is, but it used to be like 85% of social media is consumed via the play button. That's real. Like, and so we pivoted in 18, actually, we started doing a video a month, and now we're doing like 4 a month, one a week. So mindset, mission, and so media, that brings us to how do you, okay,
Can I touch on something?
Go ahead.
So,
Yeah.
With what Ryan's talking about, one of the biggest things that I really focus on is we put ourselves in tons of real estate trainings for the real estate agent, because what are their biggest concerns? It's lead generation and lead conversion. So I don't sit in title trainings because we should all know how to read a preliminary report. We should all we can help our agents with that. That is like subpar basic title service that we should be able to provide. We can help them with that. But their biggest fears and concerns are lead generation and lead conversion. So if we can come up with ideas and, I hear something on a podcast and I can call 5 agents that I know would love to hear something like that, that's really where you bring a lot of value, is bringing agents different ideas and things that would help overcome what their fears are. And lead generation and lead conversion, if you can help them with those 2 things, you're more of a strategic business partner in their business with them versus just being their title rep who's like, oh yeah, they give me my farming stuff, they read my prelim, they get that for me. It's more about helping them on their business. That way you're really intertwined with them and always bringing them value. So I just wanted to touch on that. That's kind of our mindset of how we think of it. It's how, if we were a real estate agent, how would we go after our business?
Exactly, Melinda. Thank you. Yes. And see, we're a team. Like, we do all our videos, a lot of our prospecting, but so that leaves the media. Media is just a word for medium. What media are we using as conduits to get our message to our customer, to our prospect? Are you with me? So social media, huge leverage point. We do educational, and in California, we're a little limited on what we can talk about. We used to do overtly prospecting based and like things, concepts like circle dialing or email blast, all those things. And our friends at other companies like Second American and Old Republic and all that, they like to turn us in for those videos. So, and the internet's an ink, it turns out. So they find them. But anyway, so we do as much title content as we can. And then we do as much through innuendo and through private pages as well, that to really focus on and hit the nail on the head in terms of their needs, which, like Haley said, it's our job to do a good job at title. It's their job to get customers and send them to us. So we're clear on that. We get them clear on that. But we still pick up the phone and we get voice to voice, because voice to voice leads to face to face. We email. We have a couple I have like 6,500 people in my line desk that we do an email to minimum twice a month, right? One of them is actually like 4 times. We do a tool-based email, which is what Tycor apps are trending and what something we want to highlight. Then we do 2 video newsletters emailed out. We have a vendor that does that for us. And then Shelby has some kind of a piece that she does. So mindset, mission, media, and then mastery. Mastery, you spend time, you do this, and time is part of that equation. And you start finding your strengths, right? Because my strengths, me and Haley are great on video. We have a great energy. We have a passion for it. That might not be your jam, well, then get out there and get it in person. Go make sure you hit, if you don't hit 20 open houses in a weekend, then you didn't work, right? But you take Tuesday off, or are you just bitching on the phone and you have nothing more than just, you want to call out your closings, call out your openings, and then call all the people on the other side of those deals if they don't work with you. We have great success with the non-directing clients, NDCs, we call them. So if I have Joe Schmo, my agent, and Judy Bloom on the other side of it, Judy doesn't work with us, but I got 45 days to get her on board. right? Or at least make her aware. You know, people forget the simplicity of the sales funnel, where there's so many agents that are just oblivious to our existence, right? And they think that we don't need to market like the insurance dudes or the law firm or the personal injury law firm all over TV and stuff. We have to on social media to get them out of oblivion into awareness. That's the beginning of the sales funnel, right? And then lo and behold, they start following, they start engaging, and they're coming down the sales funnel a little bit with some engagement, some questions, some likes, some comments, some shares. And then down and once you get to that voice to voice and that face to face, now you've got them down at the bottom of the sales funnel, which is conversion and then relationship, right? And some will, some won't. So what? Who's next? It's not personal. It's about you having your systems and being very vigilant about guarding your systems, right? And guarding what goes in here too, because if we are our own product, then we are what we eat, we are what we consume. And hey, I'm guilty. I throw on the Righteous Gemstones or the Housewives or Below Deck or whatever from time to time. I need some garbage TV time, but mostly I'm focusing on reading. What's going to make me better, what's going to help me get my clients to the next level, that type of stuff. So that's where you get into the mastery part. But it's a strategy. It's a framework that has worked for me on how to process this whole crazy industry that we're in. And then if you do it right, you become a model for many of your customers. They don't know why they like working with you. They don't know what they want about it, but they see a light, they see a structure, they see that they can detect systems, they can detect repetitive behavior in how you approach your business. And they want some of that because most salespeople are like great with people, shitty with details, horrible, right? And so they want some of that. And so you start attracting people that way too. So I wanted to, that's a lot of me talking, which is, it's about you guys, that's a little bit of our approach. And Haley, thank you for speaking up. You're a big part of that, and she's internalized it and we do it together. But does that hit the mark with anybody? Any questions? Is it crazy talk or any value there for any of you?
There's a ton of value, Ryan. I think I have two questions just to kind of kick it off. My first would be, I think that we can all relate that our jobs really shifted when COVID happened and going into offices and doing office presentations and things of that nature. Outside of video, what did your team really focus on or have found during this time to really be successful of getting in front of agents?
Great question. Yeah, I remember.
Favorite.
I remember Haley and I actually talking about it because we're the salespeople on the team, and then talking about it in the huddle. Is we had to pivot and we had to pivot quick, and we went from dropping by office. We went into our DMs. I've been fortunate enough to do LinkedIn since like 2009 and Facebook since like 2006. Like I said, really old over here, but that means my direct message chain is like miles long. Okay. So I said, and so are theirs, because we target people and we try to get them from the direct message, take it out of the digital world into at least the voice to voice world, and now get more meetings behind it. But then it was like, holy cow. And we went to LinkedIn, direct message chain, Instagram, Facebook, and then our text chain. I don't know about y'all, but my iMessage is like, I don't think I've gotten to the bottom of it. I just scroll, pick 20 people, copy and paste the message, and then try and call them that afternoon. But we pivoted to messaging big time. And back in March, April, May, at least, we probably were doing what, Haley, 25 on each platform?
At least 100 a day. Like, this is mine for today. Like, I'm still sending them, like, and it's easy, simple, and paste direct messages. Like, it's just every time I like add a realtor or they add me or a lender, anybody in the real estate space, I just have a simple copy and paste message. Like, thank you so much for the ad. If there's any way we can connect over some coffee, I'd love to meet. We can go over some value propositions and maybe we can work together someday or something like that. And it's a copy and paste message. And the results and returns we get from that is mind blowing. Like, the people always respond because they know that you can see it. And then we do a follow-up call behind it. So it's not that we just send the direct message. We actually call them also.
And back then it was messages of like, oh my gosh, this is scary. We have tactics to help you control the controllables. What are the controllables? and your outreach, your attitude, your activities are your controllables in this. Where as much as we can fret and worry, I can't control vaccination, quarantine, anything else at that time. So back then it was more geared towards that sensitive human side. But I would say always have an element of the human side in your message, because there's 100 reps, it seems like, that say, hey, great new listing, I can get you contacts around there to get the next listing, and all these email blasts, and people get peppered with them. But and then when we would talk to them, and when we would do a Zoom or a video FaceTime, we would be human with them and be vulnerable and be like, we're scared shitless over here too, but life must go on, and we're working it from the kitchen table with my kids. They were doing school, I was doing work, my wife was going crazy, but we got her done. And now guess what? Now we have a whole platform to teach our agents. It's like, Ryan, what do I do? I got all these buyers. I said, well, let's direct message. When's the last time you looked through your social media and say, man, I haven't talked to Betty since before COVID, right? Everything's like before and after COVID. It's like the new BC, AD, BC, before COVID. I was friends before COVID with that guy. But go back to those before COVID people and say, man, breathe new life into those relationships, and agents get it. And because a lot of us, we were behind a wall for so long. So pivoting to digital, to answer your question, send a quick message to sorority sisters, fraternity brothers, people you went to high school with, people that like it could be even like a decade, right? And I'm 45 years old. Yes, there are people that I was close with that I haven't talked to in a decade. That's what 4 children will do to you, okay? But I just send them a quick video. Man, I miss you. How the heck you been? Let's connect, right? Whether it's a homie that I went to high school with that I want to go golfing with, or if just reconnection is the point, or an agent. And people love that. And guess what? They know too, right? They haven't called me in a decade, right? So and to Haley's point, they can see your direct message. And so something like, hey, I'm keeping my eye on this crazy market, so you don't have to, but I'm always available for your questions. That's the exact message we tell our agents to send. And then send that in the morning over your coffee, and then call them in the afternoon and say, what's up, Haley? Hey, did you get my message? Yeah. I just realized I haven't talked to you in a while, and I just want to check out how you are, how you been, etc. And 100 other things. We upped our email game, we upped our texting game, and we doubled down on video. And it took us about a week. We were like, deer in the headlights, just like everybody else. But after a week, we went to war on digital and video. So that's what we've done to pivot in new COVID world reality. To answer the question.
Thank you. No, that was really helpful. I love that strategy.
And we go ahead.
We have a question over here. I'm Kirsten from Bellingham, Washington. You had mentioned that you're listening, and Haley had mentioned that you guys are listening to a bunch of different podcasts and things that you take little snippets of that and info and get it to your clients. Do you mind letting us know maybe some of your top ones and what you recommend?
Yeah, I'll go first. I like Tom Ferry for the business directed thing to agents, speak agent, in air quotes. He talks about pressing issues, and he says all the stuff that they should be doing, and then none of them do it, right? So, but he has great success doing that. Mm-hmm. So I'm at least in touch and have my finger on the pulse of what agent concerns are, because if anybody has their finger on the pulse of agent concerns, it's Tom Ferry. The guy's legit, and he's got great content. Gary V for mindset, Tony Robbins for mindset, and you can't go wrong with them. And Haley, who's your guy? There's one guy I really like, but
yeah. So for like mindset, I like Rob Dial. It's called the Mindset Mentor. He does a really good job, but also It's a Good Life is Brian Buffini's podcast, and he has a lot of good ideas on there as well. And then Tom Ferry, he does one every day, like pretty much every day, and his podcasts are always fire. I can always find some idea in there that I'm like, ooh, that's good. I either want to use it in my business or bring it to all the agents that we work with.
Yeah, because we have to have answers for like, Ryan, what do I do? I got no listings, nothing, and there's 6 actives in the whole zip code the buyer wants. What do I do? And so, well, let's get the metrics of the property that the buyers want. You say you have 7 buyers in that neighborhood. Cool. That means let's turn that liability into a credit. Let's turn that weakness in your business into a strength. Well, how the hell do I do that? Well, you've got a ball of momentum here that you can use to create your own listings by just notifying. So how do I notify? Well, we can send a mailer. We can do an email. We can do a voicemail blast. We can do a text blast about the buyers that you have, right? And I've been telling people from the high heavens, do a video with your buyer. Start, instead of like touring the listing and saying, this is the new listing, like sit with the family and the dog and everything. Chaos may ensue, and that's even better, honestly. That makes for great video that people will consume, and talk about your buyers and then send them to the sellers that fit their need, right? And then do a social media post and drop a pin, and they're going to say, hey, I'm Ryan with 123 Bubblegum Realty, and I'm here with the Johnsons, and we need a house for these guys. Who's selling? Come on. If you've had thoughts of selling, I'm not telling you I have a buyer, I'm showing you I have a buyer, right? And that's just a thought, that's just a concept that these agents literally are like blown away. And where did I get it? I got it from Tom Ferry's, like, what to do in a low inventory market. Like, there's nothing new under the sun, you guys. People have thought of it. We just need to harness it, make it our own, and actually use it and execute, because a great idea is nothing without execution, right? Faith without work is dead, right? Ideas without execution, dead. You may as well not have the idea. So take it, learn, get yourself better, right? And as within, so without. The better you are as a person, the more educated, the more informed you are, you're going to attract that frequency of others that want that, like we talked about, right? And that's another thing about mindset, is if you don't believe it, how's your prospect going to believe it, right? If you don't have it to give away, if you don't have self-belief, self-love, how are you going to give it away? You can't give away what you don't have. So that's why we start our morning working on us, on self-care, on self-development, on personal growth. And by the time we get to the customer, we're like so jacked on caffeine and Tony Robbins and Gary Vee, like, oh, they're like, whoa, okay, dude, we'll use you. Don't shoot. But you know what I'm saying? So that's, sorry, I'm a little weird sometimes.
I have one more podcast that's a good one too.
Go.
Level Up for Realtors. It's a really good one as well.
Level Up.
Let me double check. Level Up, the podcast for Realtors.
Yeah, find your jam and spend time there, but spend a little bit of time, but daily, because incremental change, and sometimes it's going to hit you and you'll hear the same podcast another time and something completely different hits you right between the eyes. And that's, take a moment, jot that note, or tell Siri or Alexa or whoever, or Evernote, all this technology. I just still have a notepad by my bed, and I can't go to sleep until I get some of that stuff out. But you know what I mean? Work on yourself, because I really believe that as the person that you become inside is the people that you will attract around you, right? So that's where we go for that. I'm looking for the questions here too. Yeah. Any other questions, you guys? Come on, this is your turn to talk. Me and Haley are both here. We're happy to help. How are you helping agents in this low inventory market? Okay, that was one of the questions. So anybody, you guys have the similar market, Ashley? Like no listings, tons of buyer?
Yes, no inventory, very limited.
30 buyers for every listing, legit, if not more.
I just had 71 offers on one of my clients' listings. So yeah, it's a little nutty, and things are going up to $1 million over asking price. So supply is an issue.
That is obscene. Yeah, very similar. So, so real fear, real panic, right? And when we talk at team meetings and we're getting more in person, we're fortunate enough to have some mega teams we work with and do regular team meetings with them. And I tell them, listen, 20% of the agent population is walking around unemployed. They just don't know it yet, right? Which one are you going to be on? What side of that are you going to be on? And what's the difference? Is that either you're going to sit there and watch the market pass you by, you're going to do something about it. You're going to, I hate cliches, but you're going to watch shit happen, or you're going to make shit happen. And so what does that mean? So the MLS is an auction. It's a bloodbath, if we're being honest, and for the poor buyers. So you've got to go off market. You've got to go seller direct. You've got to get the message to potential sellers. And so how do we find the highest likely seller, right? Which is popular in our market for competing title reps to say and claim that they can send the most likely seller, which is just BS. But so everybody's a seller with these numbers. Are you kidding? Like, you might want to die in that house and be like, I'm here forever. I'm going to leave feet first. And then you said 2.8, I'm for sale. Let's go to escrow, right? You never know. So don't limit yourself. Don't say no for the customer. That's like one of our platforms is business to business. We teach our agents how to go after divorce attorneys, bankruptcy attorneys, probate attorneys. Well, why would I talk to these attorneys? Oh, they're such jerks and they're money driven. And it's like, you know why? Because very few agents have ever brought value, right? And you can go prospect divorces, bankruptcies, and probates because you have that data available to you. And you can become the marketing arm of that law firm because they can't target those people. They have to passively market or else they're going to get kicked out of the bar or get disbarred. So go and have a reciprocal relationship and show them the spreadsheet, that with big red divorce that you wrote out, and say, I call on these people regularly because a big life change usually turns into a housing change. So I can bring these people that don't have counsel to you. And I would ask that you reciprocate when Susie up front buys her first condo, or when Jim, the partner, sells his Rancho Santa Fe house. I just want to be the realtor, right? So see, we think about strategies for the agents. That's to Haley's point. We're in Rick Ruby's core training, but I was in Tom Ferry before the core. I was in Buffini before Tom Ferry, and none of those have a title component. It's all about agents. And so we get out of ourselves. It's critical, especially in this market. If you want to bring real value and be relevant, you better be talking about the needs, the hopes, the fears, the dreams of your customer. And so that requires some education. It requires a little shift in your approach, undoubtedly. But it's really worked well for us, and it helps you engender a little bit more empathy than I think others have. And when you don't have to push them, right? They become attracted when they hear you speak in that language. When you are better kind of at their job than them, like when you have more strategy and have put more protocols and things together on outreach than they have, then it's a no-brainer. But there's no close, there's no sell. It's just like, man, I got to work with this dude. And yeah, so anything about team building or anything about outreach? How are we doing on time? Are we okay?
We're good as long as you are. We had slated till 4, but obviously want to be respectful of your time. Ryan, it looks like there are 3 questions in the chat for you.
Would you read them? Because I'm on my iPhone. Forgive me.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to skip Jamie's question because I think he just stepped out. So we'll circle back to that one. But Leanne is asking, what is your broken down process for NDCs after it opens?
Great question. So we have Lion Desk, and we have an NDC open drip and an NDC closed drip, where it's like, you know, automation, like day 0 plus 3, they get an email, day 0 plus 6, they get a text, et cetera, et cetera. And we wrote those templates out, but we call and say, hey, we're your concierge through Tycor during the duration of this transaction. And you can text me and call me and email us. We are available. We care. Mm-hmm. And overwhelmingly, how many thank yous for the phone calls do we get, Haley?
Oh my gosh, tons. So that's kind of one of my main roles on the team is every single opening we get, we have a Google Drive sheet that Ryan and I work off of together, and we put in the client that opened it and who the non-directing client is, which is the buyer's agent. I always call the buyer's agent and thank them and give them my direct number. So if they have any issues or if anything comes up, and the response, like people are just shocked that we're actually calling. They're like, oh my gosh, thank you for actually calling. Like we really appreciate it. And then we always call our agent, obviously. And then we put them into Lion Desk, and that's our CRM that we use. And then we put them on that drip. And then we get also notified halfway through the transaction to give them a call, do like a check-in. So Lion Desk will ping us to say, call and check in on this file. So we'll do a check-in halfway through. And then also they're getting our emails. And then when we close, that's when we go in for like the kill. We're like, hey, let's get a meeting after.
Yeah. And that's our highest pull-through ratio, I would imagine, is through our, non-directing client, other than referral, you know. So yeah, step 1, call, introduce. And then there's so much back and forth that they're seeing our signature blocks, they're seeing and hearing from our team, whether it's the title unit or my assistant or Haley or her assistant or whatever. And so there's a lot of branding that way, but the initial talk to makes it feel personal, and it makes it feel like I got a guy, right? And people want a guy. They want a guy to bitch at, you know. It's the only thing I hear about is that with everything online is that they don't have somebody they can call and be like, dude, it arrived broken. That's the one thing about like Amazon. Who do you call? I don't have a guy. I don't use Amazon. They show up, the boxes keep showing up. Like they must think this is a distribution plant because I get so many boxes showing up, but I can take that up with Mrs. Lipsey. Anyway, yeah. So they want somebody like a Sherpa through a difficult transaction. And I mean, there's very few vanilla transactions anymore, it seems like, because we get tons of questions. But after that, it's the opening to a dialogue that could lead into a relationship. And by the time we call and we're rejoicing with them, like Haley makes a lot of our closing calls, and they're just like, oh my God, you've been great. And right then, and when the best time to ask for anything is when you've delivered, right? When you've given, when you're like, boom, here's the value. And then a little ask like coffee or quick lunch or let's grab breakfast is not big in the moment. So that's, I think we attribute a lot of the success to that. But I think I hit it protocol wise. If I were to just lay it out for you, I'd be like, call, introduce, time, even in Outlook, you can set emails to be sent later, so get some, hey, you should have received your prelim by now. And I'd love to go over it with you if your buyers have any questions or if you have any questions. Like a lot of our prelims look like hieroglyphics to people. Okay, we acknowledge, we own that. Like, let's translate it for them, right? And make fun and be self-deprecating. People love that stuff. Yeah, our prelims, man, I wish, it took me years to understand them. 21 years, I'm still learning. Like, oh, okay. But, then you're relatable, you're human. And then, so have a series of emails, definitely call everybody at time of closing. If you do nothing else, call and text at closing, because they're stoked and you should be for them. Then another thing here is, does that answer your question?
Leanne's on mute on the road, but I think that was a great response and I love the strategy. Oh, she gave you a thumbs up.
Cool.
Lisa has a question. Can you talk about your private groups?
So our private groups, we have YouTube videos where we did, I think before we had our intervention with the Department of Insurance, not with the department, but with our compliance attorney, I should say. When we pivoted just to straight educational stuff, we were doing how to get most out of your sphere, how to stay top of mind, what videos to do, how to circle prospect like a pro. It's all down the line, right? So now a lot of those are private on YouTube, and we refer to them in other videos, and then we can send those videos individually to the customer that raised their hand, right? So not necessarily like a private group on Facebook where you have to have like a subscription or secret handshake to get in, and we talk all day long about that stuff. It's just that client-centric material is more available on a private basis through our YouTube channel. But private groups, it's a good thing you brought it up, because there's coming soon. There's off market, there's flippers, there's all kinds of, we have Real Estate Friends, San Diego, Real Estate Investment. There's like 30 private groups. So I'm sure there's like Seattle flippers, Buyers Agents Unite, Seattle, coming soon off market, Seattle, et cetera, et cetera. If you just Google search or Facebook search, all those groups will pop up. You should be a part of those. I mean, you should be posting regularly in those, right?
Yeah, you should definitely be posting in them and interacting with people. I mean, we've gone as far as to seeing in like San Diego Real Estate Friends group, somebody just posted like, hey, who has a good title rep? That's like a key. We slid right into the DMs as soon as I saw that post, and we got a meeting with them now. And that just happened this week on Friday. So we have a meeting now on Friday with them. So it's really good to be a part of those groups, because to Ryan's point, people are always posting in there. They're always asking questions, because you not just want to be the title rep, but we try to make ourselves the go-to person. So if we see somebody that needs a plumber, if we see somebody that needs a cleaner, anybody, we try to have that. And that also due to private groups, Ryan and I are both in BNIs. We're both in networking groups. So Business Networking International. That's a great group to be in, because you become a go-to person. So most of our agents know they can ask us for anything, and we have a referral for them. So that's a great network. Like networking groups are great to be a part of.
Totally. Yeah. And I mean, you'll see a lot of people saying, hey, got a new one coming up on the market. It's a bit of a fixer. I mean, I call those people right away, because I have agents that have buyers or I call my flippers, or I send them the post or whatever, right? You can just sit there literally and harvest things and topics and value to bring to your customer in a lot of those private groups.
Great suggestion, you guys. Sunday's question is, what is your top target takedown approach?
Top target takedown approach. I love the alliteration. It sounds like our whale strategy. Is that what you mean? Like whales? How do we go after whales?
Yes.
Well, it's tough, as you know, because you have to create breakage in a very solid relationship in most cases, right? Like I think of our whales that we work with, and we have a gal that's going to do 400 units this year, and I sat with her and wrote her business plan with her when she had 0 deals. So how do you create breakage on a front like that, right? The reality is you don't, in my case, because I'm all over it, but there are opportunities and timing is a part of it. So you be consistent and definitely have a strategy to reach out. Number one is have a strategy. It sounds so basic, but you'd be surprised how few of us do as salespeople, right? It's like the realtor. Think about the divorce attorney. Oh, I'm sure they have somebody. I'm sure they have a golf buddy they send all their real estate deals to. And when we ask attorneys, they don't. What do they say about agents? Well, Google real estate agents are, and then let Google fill in the blank, and you'll be enlightened what they think of agents, because it's very much along those lines, right? A joke, embarrassing, not good at follow-up, and then worse. So number one, have a strategy, be consistent, right? And it's tough at times to have the chutzpah to reach out to somebody who's going to do either super luxury and has $4 million listings on the regular or higher, or is going to do 20 listings a week through their team or whatever. Those are intimidating people, but have a strategy and have value, because let's recognize we're all part of the human experience. We have that in common. So if you can have a human approach, identify. Social media will tell you everything you know. If they're new moms, if they're a new mom and you put a new mom network together, opportunity, right? And you can connect on the heartstring level where maybe the other rep is all business. Have a strategy, but be consistent in that strategy.
I would say also too on that, social media is really big. We've gotten a lot through just interaction, staying consistent with these big producers, always commenting on their stuff, always liking their stuff that they're posting, making sure that they're seeing your name, maybe sliding into their DMs instead of a comment and just being like, wow, that is an amazing property that you have listed or coming up, and kind of just continue to touch on them. I've gotten success with going after kind of like their protege, like the people that are working under them, like their big listing agent that they have on the team or their big buyer's agent they have on the team, and kind of even their TC, if they have a specific TC that they work with on that team, you can kind of side angle it and backdoor and build a relationship with those people, because they're going to start, being the little birdie like, hey, have you talked to Ashley? Have you had the conversation about what she can bring to the table? Like, she's really helpful. She's always sending me stuff, always helping me out. And I know we don't even use her. So we've gotten big meetings with like a Kyle Whistle from working all of his agents. And he finally was like, okay, I guess we got to sit down.
Yeah, good point. Swim upstream, right? And find the entry point, but that requires a strategy, consistent outreach. And don't be scared to pick up the phone and offer, invite them to lunch, invite them to breakfast. These people, because if we feel intimidated, others feel intimidated. So then largely and we hear this from our whale clients, is that people leave them alone, especially when they've made it clear and done 13 videos with me as their title people start leaving them alone. And so ask, don't be afraid to ask, because the worst you can get is no, and you already got that. So nothing lost. The other thing is whales beget whales. So try to do content with your whales. Try to get endorsement. Try to do videos with your big producers, because it's going to attract more big producers. And then ask them, hey, do you know so and so? They're on my hit list. Could you put in a good word for me? And a lot of them, I can tell them how amazing I am all day, but they think I'm nuts. But if they hear it from a peer, it's different, right? It's an entry point. So that's how I would go about it. I need to be better about that. We all do, but have a strategy and work it, I would say. And then do with the stuff they should be doing on social media, like video and boosting and consistent and 26 pieces of content. I think we're up to like 20, 25 pieces of content a day between stories and everything else, and that's straight Gary V. If you haven't read Crushing It, you need to read it. It's not like, we're not getting rid of our cell phones any day soon, as my colleague likes to say. So people are absorbed. I mean, I just watch my teenagers and they're just like this on TikTok. It's like, holy cow. So not going anywhere soon. Have a strategy for that, and people are on there and they're watching, and level up, step your game up, do video, do it consistently. And so you get consumed, and then you'd be surprised how much engagement you'll get. And you become an authority because there's still that thing where they see you on their screen. Well, he must be somebody. He's on my screen, right? And we're just like goofy old, silly old salespeople with a heart to help them. And that's, I think, part of the difference too.
I think one thing we didn't really mention that we should touch on a lot is we are very strict to our calendar. We time block almost everything that we do. We have prospecting hours time blocked. We have 3 consults a day that we have time blocked. So people can only meet at 12, 1:30, and 3 with us because we have prospecting hours in the morning that we're doing. So we stay very, very strict on our time blocking. And that's kind of helps us with our routine and staying consistent, because that consistency over a long period of time, that's kind of how we got where we're at. We didn't start doing $8 million. I think when I started with Ryan, we were maybe closing 4 or 3. I think it was like 3 a year.
Mid threes, yeah. 300,
Mhm.
300 a month or so.
Just consistently call like every single day. We try to, if we don't make 25 calls a day, we didn't work.
For real.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big conversation that we've had on our team about time blocking and just kind of adding more structure in and kind of this new way of doing business. Would you give us an example from like the time you wake up of what a typical day looks like for you with your time blocking?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I wake up and I do a motivational podcast. I do some devotionals. I do some journaling, and then I get on my bike, my Peloton. I ride an hour a day. I think of 30 to 60 minutes of vigorous cardio exercise gets all the demons out and gets the stress and all the things. And it gives you endorphin. It gives you dopamine hits. I mean, your body's like, yes, yes, yes. So it gets you, your frame of mind right out the chute is way better. Then we get into, emergencies and check the inbox. And then we get on a huddle at 10. And then we go into our lead generation time from 11 to, I think our first consult is usually 1 or 12:30 if we have a lunch. And then we have scheduled consults like 1, 2:30, and 3:30 or 4. Usually it's 2, if not 3 a day where we do consults, or some kind of a leveraged event where we're hosting a class or attending a happy hour. And then, and this is where the team concept comes in. I know some of you are teetering on, do I need a team? Do I not need a team? Haley and I literally are prospecting or with customers, and we don't have to be checking on the prelim for 123 Banana Street, or when there's a fire and there's 76 emails going back and forth on one deal because escrow hates the lender and somebody lost all the things, right? You don't have to be part of that because you have somebody who manages your inbox for you. And literally they won't let me back in. Like I can barely get into my inbox now. And I definitely can't get into my calendar. And that's a blessing because my strong suit is not that. My strong suit is this, and people and sales, and as is Haley. So we get to focus 125% on sales and engendering new relationships and nurturing current relationships. I know Haley walks her dog. And what else do you do, Haley?
My schedule is very similar to Ryan's too. I wake up every morning. I try to wake up between 6 and 6:30. Usually it's like 6:30. I'm not going to lie to you guys. I will be completely honest. I'm not a 5 a.m.er. Like I do not know, like not 5 a.m.
5:30.
I don't have kids yet. It's just me and my dog. So I am 6:30. I try to go to the gym every morning by 7. Tuesdays, I have a meeting at 7 a.m. every Tuesday. It's my BNI. So I'll go to the gym after work on Tuesdays, but for the most part, every day it's 7 a.m. at the gym, get done with that, walk my dog on the beach every morning after, and I have a podcast going. So I get in after that, take my shower, and I get right into emails, cleaning up any fires, checking that stuff out. Then we have our huddle. Then I get really heavy into phone calls. Like today we didn't have as many consults. So what do? I bang phones and I'm on DMing all day today. Like there's nothing else that I'm doing. So that's where we switch. When our consults aren't happening, we're going straight into prospecting. So after our 3 meetings, after our consults, usually we end our meetings about 4 every day. And then I go from 5 to 7 almost every day, still prospecting, making all our closing calls, going through NDC calls. So usually I don't end my day till about 6:30 or 7.
Yeah. And I pay attention to your biorhythms. I know it sounds weird in a sales meeting, but you have high energy points in different time in your day. You need to identify that in yourself, right? We are mid-morning monsters like that. Our energy is highest in the mid-morning till like 1. And I know me and Haley are both reaching for the cure egg at like 2 to get a reboost, right? If we have a happy hour or something to go to. But and then what are your activities? And then time block them. So when am I going to be best on the phones? When am I going to be best in person? And sometimes, believe me when I tell you, having the scheduled time blocked on your calendar is the win. Okay. It's like, you must be present to win. Just doing that much, you're showing up. That's a huge, huge head and shoulders above your competitors. Okay. And then adhering to the things on your calendar will take you the rest of the way. And sometimes my day looks nothing like my calendar. Like, what happened here? Right. But then, and that's just the universe's way of letting you know that it's still in control. And then, but you get back on Tuesday and you get back on your feet and you get back in your calendar. And so we literally have things that are recurring and live. And so it takes it out of our hands, right? It takes the brain out of it. Because man, we got a lot of moving parts around here. We just need to know, where do I need to be? What's the address? What's the Zoom link, etc. So find your rhythm, but definitely look, we all have time, more time than we think, to lead gen. If you're not lead generating, you don't have a voice in the narrative. And if you don't have a voice in the narrative, then it's not long before you're out of the narrative. And your competitors do. Your competitors are calling, especially now, because those title reps that aren't going to be around in a year, they're scraping their way down the drain like this, and they're desperate, and they're doing desperate things to try and steal your customer. So if you're not steady, consistent, and have a voice in the dialogue, then we're all at risk. We're all at risk anyway. And I mean, and have that. Look, if you work, if you do outreach, if you're consistent, you're going to be fine. You're going to do plenty of production and have a great life. And, but just be aware that they're coming for you. They're coming. And that's one thing that we've never lost, is that fire. Like, Haley has an amazing fire in the belly, and she's like me. And it's a little bit of, what's that?
I'm not competitive at all.
Oh my God. You should see her on the friendly confines of a soccer field, like intramural soccer field, or whatever it was that you did, just knocking people over. But no, you got to be competitive, right? You got to have the juices flowing, and I'll be damned if somebody's coming for my shit, right? And sorry, I got a little thug there for a minute. But what that means is, if you don't, your competitor will. And don't lose that feeling of, they're coming for me. They're coming for my customers, because that's a good fear. That's a good driving urgency dose of adrenaline, that they're coming for you. And then the minute you're caught slipping, they're gone. And it happens. And we love them on the way in, we love them on the way out. And I can't tell you how important that is. When people leave you, call and thank them for the things they did with you, and be gracious. Because how many whales have we lost that somebody said they'd pay for something or send them to something, and we just don't roll like that. And then they come back. You know what? Because we thanked them on the way out. Hey, you sent me, I just checked, you sent me 123 listings over the last 10 years. I love you, man. Thank you. You've made an impact in my family's life. And I can't wait for you to come home. But bye. Or whatever, right? And I'm just authentic to me, how I would say that. Find how you would say that. And it hurts and it stings. And but what a professional thing to do. And I learned that from my dad. He ran a Keller Williams in La Mesa, and inevitably somebody would get recruited to, Berkshire or whatever, and he'd send them flowers on their first day over there and say, hey, we appreciated you here. We missed you. We can't wait for you to come back. So I hope that answers your question. We are like 10 minutes on our schedule. Does that help?
I was gonna say, the crazy thing is, though, so many have came back, like, just because of that. And they've thanked us for being like, thank you for really being cool about it. Because, like Ryan said, we have that fire, and we know people are always coming for our shit. And it's like, we still stay on top of them. Like, when they leave us, they're still getting our text messages. We're still checking in. So they come back and they're like, thank you for just being there. Like, you guys really are supportive and part of the team. So they can leave and they come back, because we love them on the way out and love them on the way back in too.
Ryan and Haley, I think this is so invaluable. You guys have shared so many great strategies and concepts and ideas. And the very last question, I think, is a huge attribute and just compliment to both of you, and how you've shown up today, and the value that you've created for our team. And so Jamie is probably not alone in asking this question here, but he wants to know, Ryan, so how do we coach with you?
Thank you. Thank you. To be continued. It's being developed as we speak, but it'll be out before you know it, and I'm really excited about it myself. I think it represents maybe a next step or a next kind of threshold for me to jump on. It scares the crap out of me, so I know it's kind of the right direction to go in terms of growth, right? And you might be looking at the young lady that ends up heading the team. Who knows what the future holds, right? But she's definitely been trained for that, and we have big plans and everything, but it'll be done very, very soon. And we'll be sending that out to everyone to take advantage of. It's going to be a composition or a combination rather of like video and Facebook and then individual calls. And there's going to be different levels in the whole thing. So we're excited about it. I'm personally pumped. I'm ready. I think we have a lot to give, I would just say stay in the fight. It's easy. And I went through 2006, 7, and 8, and it was really, really tough. And a lot of us were talk about the crucible of adversity. We were in the darkness of the valley and we didn't think that there was a way out, many of us. When you take a 90% pay cut involuntarily in your career, it's scary. So if we can get through that, we can get through anything. And what I wish I would have been better at then was consistent effort, because I just mailed it in, or I was fearful, and fear-based thinking got the better of me in so many cases. And so thank God that's not the case now. But if ever, just keep moving, keep talking to people, keep connecting. That human connection feeds on itself and keeps you going, right? Because as much as you need your customers, they need you. And be available to them, And one thing when it comes down to protecting your whales is give them the extra 5. We talk about that on our team, and so many times it's transactional, and I catch myself into wanting to get to the next call or jamming into a meeting, or I'm late for a Zoom. And sometimes, like, we had a gal that was facing cancer and she's cancer free now, and I just let her go, earlier today, and she wanted to talk for 20 minutes, and we cried it out a little bit, and I gave her the extra 5 minutes, and it was well warranted, right? Cancer free, thank God. But so many cases, so many opportunities present themselves with your big clients. Give them the extra 5, because if you don't, somebody will, right? It's like, if I don't date my wife, we're going to have 20 years this April or so, or so. If you don't date your wife, somebody else is going to want it, right? So I take my wife out. We go on dates, and same thing with your big clients. You can't do it for all of them. We try. It's hard. Only so much bandwidth, but definitely know your 25. Start there. Who are my 25 biggest producing agents to me that give me the business, and who's loyal, and go and be in their lives and support them, the things that they're going through.
Ryan, Haley, thank you both so much. You're getting lots of love in the chat box. I think everyone can agree that this was even better than we had even hoped for. I love both of your perspectives, your ideas and strategies. Thank you for sharing them with us, and being willing to take the time to share with our team.
Thank
you.
It was an honor being here, so thank you guys. We appreciate it.
Yeah, we're pumped, and we wish you the best of luck. You guys find us on social, or she has my contact. Text. It's a dialogue moving forward. I'm happy to answer questions. I'm happy to encourage you. Lord knows at different phases in my career I've needed encouragement, and just quick questions or whatever. We're here for you. We are a resource. So appreciate that very much, Ashley.
Well, thank you both, and keep us posted on your journey, because you're going to be an incredible coach when you do take that step in that direction.
Oh, I appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well,
thank you, guys.
all right.
Have a good rest of your day.